Hi guys. So I know I've been gone for like 2 years. I do apologize. No, actually I think I posted a video like a year ago. So, I'll take that back. But anyway, I know I've been gone for a while. I'm so sorry, but I'm back. And today I'm just gonna answer your questions because I have no clue what else to talk about at this point. I don't even know if I have the right to even make content anymore. I've fallen off like the wagon. I'm shiny. Okay, so I have your questions in front of me, and I'm just going to go through them one by one and hope that nobody disturbs us in the meantime. My phone's on silent, my Slack is on silent. Let's go. So the first question that I can see is from at David Lopez Messeguer 4343, and he asks, can you earn money as a Facebook copywriter alone? So, David, good question. I do, I'm aware of the fact that maybe I've even said it myself before that having a niche is good because it makes you an expert, right? And narrowing down your expertise to something like just Facebook ads could seem like a good idea. I mean, it makes sense, right? Until it doesn't, because when you think about it, a business normally has like an entire sales funnel, and Facebook ads are the first part of the funnel. Let's say doesn't have to be the first, but they're just one step of the entire funnel. And then you're going to have sales pages, product pages, landing pages, emails, website copy. There's like a bunch of other stuff that happens outside of just the ad itself. So if you limit yourself to only writing the ads, David, you will essentially limit your opportunity for long-term work with the client and obviously more money. So, my advice to you would be no, don't just exclude, like, don't just do Facebook ads and exclude everything else because that's not going to be good for you, especially just when you're just getting started. I would say get familiar with like the average sales funnel you see online and get comfortable writing copy for every single part of it because that's going to guarantee that you can actually work with clients who need a copywriter, and you're not just going to be turned down because you can only do that, but actually they need a copywriter to do all of it, or different bits as and when. So yes, no. I hope that made sense. Um, the next question I have is. I have to scroll down. Okay, Malomati -NI7PB. She's asking if I work as a full-time copywriter or as a freelancer and which one is better. I'm going to tell you the story of my life. I'm kidding. I'm going to tell you my experience and what I think personally and how you can apply it to your life and kind of learn from my mistakes, I guess, which I did a lot. Yeah. So I started as a freelance copywriter because two reasons. One, I didn't think I had a different choice because I had no experience as a copywriter. And it's kind of like catch 22. You can't get the job without having the experience. You can't get the experience without having the job. And then you're just you. Um, so that was one. And two is that I wanted to travel and I didn't want to work for a company. I felt like freelancing is going to give me the freedom and the opportunity to travel, because that was before COVID and before working remotely was cool. So, very early days of what you see today. Now it's pretty much possible to be hired and work from home or anywhere in the world, but this was unthinkable back in 2019, back in my days. So that's how I started. Okay. Now I'm working full time for an agency. Still remotely, I can still travel. But there's a lot that happened in between that pushed me to that. Now, my issue was that I felt like working for someone else was failure. So it was very difficult for me to transition. And looking back on that, I wish I did it earlier. But at the same time, I'm grateful for everything that I've learned while freelancing. So my problem with freelancing is that I'm not very consistent. This could be because of ADHD. It could also be just because it's my personality. It could be laziness. I'm not saying, which one it is, but maybe a mixture of all of those. Um, so as a freelancer, obviously you do a lot. Like some people think it's just so easy. But actually, if you want to make a lot of money as a freelancer, and especially when you're starting up, you're gonna have to put a lot of work in. Thank you very much. You're gonna be the administrator, you're gonna be the salesperson, you're gonna be the website person and whatever else. Plus, you're going to be doing the copywriting. So, the thing about me is I'm very good at things that I like doing. And I literally almost cannot get myself to do the things that I don't like doing. Um, no matter how hard I try. And I tried very hard. So this resulted in me finding it difficult to actually stay consistent with, for example, client acquisition, which is the most important thing when you're freelancing because you need a consistent stream of clients. Like nobody's going to stay around forever. That's just the way it is. Like clients will always churn and they will always leave. Like, sure, you might be lucky to have a long term client for a year or 2 years, but things will change for you and for them where it no longer becomes viable to keep that relationship going. So for me, that's what it was. Like I was lucky enough to have clients from referrals and just kind of like easily find clients. And I think that literally was just God being kind to me. But then it got to a point where it got more difficult and I was really struggling. And I started to see my weaknesses, which was the inconsistency. And I realized that I really hate that part of it. I hate doing it. I hate the admin stuff. I just want to be creative and I want to write. And anything outside of that was just a chore. Well, I also like strategy, but that's also creative. Like marketing strategies are actually more creative than people realize. Um, and even reporting, like looking at data, is not boring to me because I also think there's a lot of creativity that comes out of it. However, I couldn't find the creativity in client acquisition. Although I know some of you will argue and say, actually, you can get creative with it. Well, I didn't want to, and it was a problem. And then basically I realized that I couldn't get to where I wanted to be financially because I didn't master that part of running a business. I'm calling it a business, but it's like a one man band. And it was getting to me because I was putting so much pressure on myself to get to a certain point and be a certain person, but I couldn't do it. There was a block in the way, and that block was called me. So but I still didn't want to transition to like a full-time position, even though I knew it would be perfect for me to have someone else do the client acquisition and me do the creative work because that's what I'm good at. Um, and but it was difficult for me to transition because I felt like me doing that would just be me failing, basically. So life has a funny way of teaching us lessons. And last year in June, or in May, I don't remember. It's all blurry right now. But basically, I was relying for like 90% of my income on a single client, which I know you shouldn't do, but I did because it was convenient for me. Like I was happy with that. And to be honest with me, throughout like the 6 years of me doing copywriting, that's kind of how it's been. I always had like one big client that was the one who paid me the most, and then I would have like little projects on the side. So anyway, it's May, I'm in Barcelona, I'm enjoying my life, and then my big client leaves one day before the billing cycle renewed, and he was paying me in advance. So he paid me on the 1st of June, and that was for the month of June. So I was counting on that money. Um, and then the day before, he's like, no warning, nothing. He's just like, you know what? We're not going to go ahead in the next month. And it's not because I did something wrong. It's just that financially they couldn't keep it up anymore. Like my fee was significant, and to them, it was significant. And they just weren't able to keep up with it to continue. So obviously I was really mad because it's not a decision that they took overnight. I don't think so, especially because we've been working together for like 6 months at that point. And I was pissed off because I don't think that's the way to treat someone. Like, I think you have to give them as much notice as possible because obviously that's my work. I rely on that money. Whether like they didn't know that was 90% of my income, I'm not saying they had to, treat it as such, but still you have to understand like that's someone else's work, and you have to give them notice. That's just the way it should be. Okay. But I never did contracts because I didn't want my clients to stress about working with me, because I know how stressful it would be for me if I had like this crazy contract that I had to keep to. So I didn't want my clients to feel that way. Plus, I always knew that like if they like my work and they see results, which they did, they won't leave. Like it's just the way it is. And with that specific client, their revenue went up by 30%, thanks to the strategy that I put in place for them. And it was just emails. I just changed their email funnel, and it was obviously better, and it made them more money, but it wasn't enough to justify my fee, I guess. And instead of like trying to, I don't know, negotiate it down or whatever, they were just like, no, we don't want to do this anymore. Yeah. So what am I getting at here? Oh yeah, so when that happened, I was basically so sad because again I would have to go through the difficult process of finding another client. But at this point I was so sick and tired of these clients that didn't really respect me and my time, that I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like I'm gonna look for a job. Like that's it. I don't care if I have to go back to London or move somewhere else or whatever. Like I am not doing this anymore. And then I started applying and I found the job that I have now, which is, fully remote. It pays me so much more than I could ever make freelancing. Like, I'm happy to admit that. Okay, I'm just not made for freelancing. So for me, it's the perfect option because I don't have to worry about the things that I don't like doing. All I have to worry about is the things that I like doing, which is copywriting, and that's perfect for me. Now, if you're different to me, which you probably are, you might actually be okay freelancing and client acquisition will not be a problem to you. Like I know plenty of people like that, and including the person that I work for, like he doesn't have trouble finding clients. So there's always um different types of people, different personalities, and we all have different strengths and weaknesses. And that's what I would say to you. That would be my advice. Sit down and very honestly think about what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. Mm, and then make a decision based on that. Like, is it better for me to freelance because I'm capable of doing this, and that, and it's not going to be an issue managing all of these things, and I know I can stay consistent or whatever, versus actually I feel like I would work better in a team, or I need a project manager to help me organize things, or, whatever. Like, it's totally up to you. And either way can be great. Like, if you're looking for, like, if you want to make 6 figures, you can get to that point through freelancing or through employment. Like, it happens all the time, and people can take both ways. And then also, one doesn't exclude the other. You can be employed full time and you can take on projects on the side. And then you see, like, actually, I prefer freelancing. And then you can quit your job. Or you can say, actually, I don't like looking for clients and, dealing with all that. I'm just going to stick to being employed. Totally up to you. I don't think either one is better. For me personally, being employed works better. Although it's not technically, I'm not employed, like I'm a contractor, but technically I'm not, but I kind of am. So yeah, it's just up to you. um, okay. Next question is from at Firadus I Mohammed dash JX6OZ. And his question is, I've been researching the finance niche for quite some time now. What do you think? So, what do I think? Mm, from my experience, I don't want to generalize because I haven't researched this. So, I don't want to give you the wrong information. But I do think, and what I've seen is that normally in the finance niche, you will be offered more money. I want to put it very gently because it's not going to apply to every single business in the finance niche or every single client in the finance niche. Um, but for some, it just is that way because there's more money in the industry. If you want to understand like how profitable a niche could be, a good way would be to see how much money is in an industry. And if you look at the finance industry, like financial products and whatever, financial advice and blah blah blah, you see that there is a substantial capital to it. I don't know if capital is the right word, but you know what I mean. Like there's just a big chunk of money there. And then if you look at, for example, like how much it costs to buy, I don't know, some kind of a financial software or whatever, you'll see that normally these products are a little bit pricey, which naturally translates to everyone who's working in the industry getting paid a little bit more. Now, do I think that everyone should go for the finance niche because it's going to make them the most money? No. I think that if finance is something that you're interested in and you want to work with because it's finance, great, go for it. If it's just because you can earn more money, go for it. If money is your main motivating factor. But if you're just like the average person like me, I would say go for an industry that you think is going to be cool to work in. And for example, if you ask me to, although I'm going to say like the job that I do now, I do write for some brands that normally I wouldn't care about or know much about. And that can be really fun, but I wouldn't necessarily want to do just that. Like now I have about 6 different niches that I'm kind of, writing for every day, which is why it's fun. But if you ask me to just stick to one that I didn't care about, maybe I wouldn't be so enthusiastic. Um so I would say the reason you would want to go for a niche that you're interested in is because it will be easier. That's one. And two, because you will naturally have a lot of kind of context around it because you're likely reading books or have experience or, just you like learning about it. And then ideas come to you easier and it's just more fun to do. So yeah, if you're into finance, go for it. If you're looking to make as much money as possible, go for it. But if it's not that interesting to you and you know that further down the line, money will not be your main motivator, then maybe it's better to keep a broader kind of perspective because that's another thing. Maybe right now you think, okay, I just want to make as much money as possible. But let's say 4 years down the line, you would have made like maybe the amount of money wouldn't be that significant in your chosen niche, like the one that you would actually want. But then you'll end up being like, okay, I've spent the last 6 years working in finance or whatever. And then, transitioning to beauty, for example, will be difficult because my portfolio and my expertise is in finance. So just kind of try to think a little bit further ahead. I hope that answers your question. So, The next question is, do you use artificial intelligence in your writing? The question comes from @richsporty. So Rich, I do. Guilty. I'm totally guilty of that. But not in the way that you think, probably. So I do think that AI can be a really handy tool. And I have used it in the past and I do continue to use it, but not every day because wait, let me say something else first. So AI doesn't write good copy. Like, I don't care what anyone says about their software for copywriting using ChatGPT or any other artificial intelligence model. It's just not good. And everyone can tell it was written by AI. Now, maybe your average client will not tell, but obviously, I do think it would translate to the way they perceive your brand. And, copywriting is important in so many different ways. I can't even begin to explain like how important it is in terms of how it positions your brand, like how the whole sales funnel functions. And if you just use AI without, oh, there was like a little floaty. Oh, it's here. What is that? Magic. So yeah, if you just use AI without relying on any human creativity, you're going to end up with something that's just not even worth reading. And you're going to lose people at like the first sentence. So that's why I wouldn't just go to ChatGPT and be like, hey, can you write me an email for this? Doesn't matter how good you make the prompt, the copy will never come out ready. And actually, what you're doing is you're limiting the idea, because part of copywriting is coming up with a lot of ideas, taking the best ones, picking them apart, like trying different things, and then you come up with the actual copy. And it's not just about the text, it's actually the idea behind it that's more important than the words you use to communicate that idea. Because without the good idea, the copy will just be like text. But the good idea is what makes it real, cool advertising that's also effective and, actually communicates in a way that touches people and gets them to take action. So it's not about like stupid formulas and whatever else. It's the ideas that do the hard work, the heavy lifting. So that's why AI just doesn't, it will never replace human creativity. And there's also this horrible side to AI that I think everyone should be aware of. And I think that you can experience it for yourself. Like, if you start using AI today to help you, like, let's say, you get it to write the majority of the copy and then you take it and you edit it. Or, just you use it for like 90% of the heavy lifting, or sometimes you just copy the text across as it is and, you just leave it like that. You'll quickly notice that your own creativity is diminishing. Your brain will literally get lazy. I don't know if you already have experienced this, but this is what happens. Like, your brain gets lazy, your creativity just starts diminishing, and you become that person that can no longer use their skill the way it's supposed to be used. That last sentence came out a bit muddy because I'm receiving messages as I'm talking, and I was reading and talking at the same time. But what I mean is basically, in copywriting, creativity is the main skill. This is what makes you money. If you use AI to replace that and you stop using your creativity, you literally lose it. Like, it just disappears and you would have to build it back up, because creativity, just like any other skill, gets better with time. The more you do it, the better you get at it, and the quicker you can write and come up with ideas, and the higher quality ideas you can come up with. So when you're using AI to do that heavy lifting for you and you're just copying and pasting that across to whatever, and send it to your client or whatever, like, you're no longer the copywriter. You're just someone who's copying and pasting something from AI. Like, you're literally putting yourself out of work. Now, So this is why I use it as little as possible. Now, the situations where I would use AI is, let's say I wake up and I'm tired, I'm sick, and I need to come up with a good idea and I just don't know how to do it. Then I would go and brainstorm with ChatGPT. But actually, even brainstorming, you can do that by yourself. But maybe I would ask it like, hey, can you give me 10 ideas to say this? So I would have can you give me 10 ways to say this? So I would have the main idea and I would ask ChatGPT to help me put it into words, just because that day I can't do it. But the consequences are crazy, because the next day I would naturally want to go back to it because my brain's like, hey, that was easier. But I know that that's not a good option. And the ideas were not as good as something I could have come up with. And it was just, a necessity to use it at that moment because I felt, whatever, unable to do it myself. So that's kind of my use case for AI. It could be like grammar correcting. I could be like, hey, can you just look over this and make sure that everything sounds good? Because I'm not a native English speaker, even though I grew up in the UK. Like I'm not a native speaker, and I'm not the kind of person that pays attention to like every little detail, which makes it easy for me to miss a comma or, like do a typo or something. So then it's good to have like an assistant that can do that for you. And for me, that would be ChatGPT sometimes, not always. So yeah. And just one last note on AI. I do think that further, like in the future, there will always be a significant amount of people that appreciates human creativity, and it will kind of be like two camps. Even if AI gets to the point of being able to create and have good ideas and stuff, I don't think that it will be the only way. I think there will always be people that prefer a human copywriter. Just like you have people that like handmade things over factory made things, and it's a huge business where you can get handmade shoes, handmade furniture, and it's actually more expensive than what you can get out of a factory. So I think that's the way it's going to be always, because we are humans and we love the creative part of humans, and we just appreciate it and we're willing to pay more for it. So definitely I would say don't rely on AI. Try to train your own creativity and just move in that direction, and forget what everyone else is saying, that you're going to lose your job to AI and stuff, because that's not true. Like, I think it's actually going to create a market for human copywriters, but it's only going to be for the ones that are really good at what they do and really creative and that can do it without AI. Because when you're in that position, you're not going to be able to use ChatGPT to help you, because it's meant to be human made. Like, you're not allowed to use robots. That's why, like, don't rely on it. If you can find a smart way to like incorporate it to make your work faster, like the admin or whatever, perfect. But for creativity, rely on your own beautiful brain. Okay, so I'm almost at half an hour, which means that I'm going to wrap this up. Now, I hope that you had a good time listening to this. Yeah, it was fun for me to answer your questions. And if you have any more, just leave them in the comments below. Whenever I have half an hour, I'll hop on and answer more of your questions. If you have content ideas, feel free to leave them as well. And of course, if you're not subscribed, which I know only like 50% of the people that watch me are subscribed, so consider subscribing or sharing this with people that might be interested, or leaving a comment, like in whatever, dude. And yeah, have a beautiful day or night, and see you next time.